Open our lives to you, O loving God. Open our hearts.
Would anyone like to come up for a story this morning? I wonder. Wow, look at all of you this morning.
Yay!
This is so cool. So what do you think? Is this a new story or an old story this morning? New old story, so I get it right. It's both. It's old. Well, let's have a look. It's an old story, but it's new because I haven't told this one before. Yeah. So how do we know it's an old story? Because of the desert. Whoops, sorry, Madison. This tells us that this was the place where Jesus lived and taught people about God. And this is one of those stories that is about Jesus. So here's Jesus. And Jesus had been traveling around from town to town and city to city for a long time, like for a few years. And he was healing people and teaching them about God, showing them that they were loved, helping them to live differently. And so now, whenever he came to a new town, people would hear about it, and they would say, "Oh, I want to see him, I want to see him." It's sort of like if, who's your favorite singer? Taylor Swift. If you heard Taylor Swift was coming to Kelowna, would you try and see if you could see her?
No.
You wouldn't. Of course. Well, that's what happened for Jesus, that he was becoming so famous that as soon as people heard there was a chance he was coming, they would line the streets. And the really rich people, the really important people in every town would hope that Jesus would want to stay with them when he got there, because that would be a real good thing. Imagine if Taylor Swift stayed at your home. Wouldn't that be something? Not for you though, Keegan, right? So one day, Jesus is heading out, and he comes to a town called Jericho. And it was a fairly big place. And the people in Jericho heard that Jesus was coming, and they came out by the hundreds and lined the street waiting for him to come. And there were lots of them waiting for him to come. There we go. And they were waiting expectantly. And all of them had already cleaned their houses. They'd gotten food ready, keeping their fingers crossed, hoping that they were going to be the ones that Jesus decided to stay with while he was in this town. Well, just before Jesus got there, there was another man, and his name was Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus was a really short man. He was very, very, very tiny. And he wanted to see Jesus too, but when he got there, the crowds were really big, and he couldn't see over them. And they wouldn't let him through because he was shorter. They just kept him from seeing him. And he was getting really frustrated because he really wanted to see Jesus. And what happened, he looked a little bit down the road, and he noticed there was a great big tree there. he thought, if I climb up in that tree, I'll be able to see over the crowd when Jesus comes. So that's what he did. He went and he climbed up in the tree. And now he could see over the crowd. And sure enough, Jesus came into town. And as he came in, the crowds were cheering and saying, "Oh, Jesus, we're so glad you're here, and please stay with me, stay with me." And he smiled at the crowds and gave some hugs and shook hands. And he walked past, and all of a sudden he saw this man up in the tree. And he stopped right in front of him, and the strangest thing happened. Jesus stood very still, and then he looked right up at Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus nearly fell out of the tree. He had to hang on really tight because this famous Jesus was looking at him. And then Jesus said, "Zacchaeus, you need to come down from that tree because I want to stay at your house." Well, Zacchaeus was stunned, but he just nodded. He didn't actually get out of the tree. And so Jesus said, "I'm serious, Zacchaeus. I want to stay at your house. Come down and walk with me." So Zacchaeus got out of the tree and he walked down the road with Jesus. The crowd was grumbling. They were upset. Why would Jesus go with Zacchaeus? And the crowd thought Zacchaeus was a bad person because he was a tax collector, which meant he collected money from people. And they didn't like him. And they were mad that Jesus decided to go with Zacchaeus. And as they got closer to Zacchaeus' home, Zacchaeus seemed really sad, really sad. And Jesus asked him what was wrong. Why was he so sad? And Zacchaeus said, "You know, Jesus, I know the work I do is hard on people, but I give half of everything I earn to the poor. Half. And if I ever make a mistake and take too much money from someone, I give them back 4 times what I took from them. 4 times." And Jesus was quiet. And then he came over and he put his arm around Zacchaeus. And he said, "Zacchaeus, I know you are a good man. And you are a beloved child of God. I am proud to know you and proud to stay at your house." I wonder why Jesus chose to go to Zacchaeus' home. Because he knew he was a good person? And then he'd be a good friend? Yeah, Jesus didn't appreciate that the crowd kept him out, and just because he was different and short and all of that, yeah. Because Zacchaeus was kind to everyone and they were kind to him. I wonder how Zacchaeus felt when Jesus asked to stay with him. Shocked. I wonder why the other townspeople grumbled so much. Yeah, they didn't like that he chose a taxpayer, but they didn't realize what Zacchaeus was really like. Yeah. yeah, they just cleaned their houses up and it was for nothing. I know all about that, because my house is for sale and it has to be clean all the time, and nobody comes. I wonder what happened to Jesus and Zacchaeus the next day. Do you think maybe Jesus baptized him? That might be possible.
I think they broke bread.
You think they broke bread?
Yeah.
Maybe found a game to play? I like games too. Well, that's her story, and there's something amazing that's going to happen this morning. I'm so excited because all of you are going to be involved in a drama that we're going to get to see a little later in the service. So while we sing, we're going to sing "I Saw the Rich Ones," and you can go out and some of you will be rehearsing what you've done before, and some of you will be brand new, but everyone can be involved. So we're looking forward to it. And we're going to sing "I Saw the Rich Ones."